If not, after Adam, there will be no continuity of mankind. And then animals too had to systemic so that they can. Are you with me? Even the plants. Some you cut their stem and put in the ground like cassava. Some their seeds come out of the trees and they fall, and then they enter the earth, germinate, so that the system, the cycle can continue. Are you with me? So systems are as old as creation itself. They're as old as God. They're as old as creation itself. On earth, they're as old as the Garden of Eden, which I have just given expression to. Spiritual entities, expression in creation as systems. Now, for those of you who are deeply operational in spiritual things, this is very important. Spiritual entities find optimum expression in creation as systems. Can I tell you something? Because man is a spirit being, you can never say, I want to live my life. There's nothing like that. There's no such thing as my own life. This is my life. You know why? Because every individual action has societal ramifications. If you get angry in your house and you don't deal with it, as you step out there, you will transfer that anger to somebody in your office. From there, the thing begins to spread like a virus. Why? Because our function is systemic. Positive or negative emotions have systemic consequences. Positive or negative actions have systemic consequences. Do you understand? Because our source functions as a system. So you cannot be different from the one who created you. This is so important. All right, definition of systems. A system is a collection of ideas, components, entities, or realities interconnected towards a common goal or cause. It's a collection of ideas, entities, components, or realities that are interconnected towards a common cause. So you see Father, Son, and Spirit governing creation as one. Their cause is rulership over functions of the Godhead. Stop it. You need to know these things. Because if you don't know these things, you will limit your capacity to aspire toward greatness. And you cannot, now, they say you cannot go beyond your dreams. What if you are dreaming of fighting a mermaid? So you can actually go beyond your dreams, but you cannot go beyond your aspirations. As far as your mental eye can see, systems are as old as God. Please use more pleasant fonts. A system is a complex web of several realities fused into one. It's a complex web of several realities fused into one. A complex web of several realities fused into one, thereby giving corporate advantage. It's a fusion of several realities fused into one, thereby giving strategic corporate advantage. Very important. Thereby giving corporate advantage. These things that we are talking about here, they have the capacity to inspire a new wavelength of aspirations and visions. That's why it is meant to transform us. A system is also the mood or model. A system is the mood or model by which life gives expressions. Is the mood or model by which life gives expressions to its multivariant realities. Is the mood or model by which life gives expressions to its multivariant realities. So we need to come to terms with the fact that systems are necessary for sustaining creation and for life finding full expression. If you don't marry, your legacy will not continue because you will not have a child, except, of course, the illegal way. If you don't build systems, you will not be remembered after you leave. Or if you are not part of a system that is being built, you will not be remembered. If you have money and you decide to go and isolate yourself and live in the jungle, you may die and nobody will know that somebody died. That's bad. And it's the stench of loneliness that will pervade the atmosphere that will make people suspect that something is wrong and come and break the door. So you see, there are many paradigms that we have accepted. Look, you know something? I don't believe that there is any need for one to be introverted. I don't believe that. I believe somebody can be reserved. That means, but an introvert is not God. Sometimes it may just be somebody shielding their insecurities and trying to stay in a place where people should not observe your inefficiencies. Because no matter how introverted you are, all I need to do is to call you and say, come, I have a gift for you, will appear. I thought you were an introvert. So you see, if there is something that can pull an introvert out of their introverted state, then it means there's something wrong. The unfortunate thing is that some people say, this is just me, out of ignorance. Do not define yourself by psychology. Jesus was not an introvert. God is not an introvert. If he was, he would not be coming to the Garden of Eden to look for Adam. If Jesus was an introvert, he would not come to the earth to die. You know something? Jesus did not come and stay in the house and lock himself. He came and was going out to go and look for the lost. So I'm an introvert. Depends on who you look like. So why do we study systems? A couple of thoughts here. Why do we study systems? Number one, because understanding systems is the key to understanding creation. You know, the Bible says a good understanding gives favor. Look at what the Bible says in the book of Hebrews chapter 1. God, who in sundry times, in diverse manners and in diverse ways, not one way, diverse manners, diverse ways, operations of several systems in several dispensations, had been speaking to us. So even God wants to speak. He doesn't just speak monotheistically. He doesn't speak one way. He speaks in several ways. Why? Because he is the system. And systems find expression in manifold ways. So even when God is speaking, somebody will hear God through dreams. Another person will hear God through thoughts. Another person will see God through visions. Another person will hear God by prophetic words. Another person will hear God by a knowing. Are you with me? So God speaks through several means and ways. Not one way. All right? Systems thinking enhances one's ability to be innovative and ingenious. Systems thinking enhances one's ability to be innovative and ingenious. Systems thinking enhances one's ability to be innovative and ingenious. Innovative and ingenious. This is why, for many people, if you want to be innovative, all you need to do is just work in an environment. If you enter a pleasant environment, your mind is activated to begin to work. There are things you see. I remember one of us, I traveled with us for a trip 2 years ago. I went to a particular city in Nigeria. He's an engineer. And I said, let's take a drive round. And he has never gone to such a place in his life. As we drove through some places, he came back and he vowed. He said, I will never design bungalows again in my life. I didn't say anything to him. We just drove around. By his sight, something was activated. A spirit of mediocrity. Some of you need to travel. Just that savings you have, carry it. Go and break that saving box, that fixed deposit, uproot it, and take a trip to Abuja or Lagos. I remember a particular man of God too. He went for a particular meeting. After that, he went to Abuja. He had never been to Abuja before. And from there, he went and saw some places. As he came back, I noticed his vocabulary changed. Yeah. Are you with me? His vocabulary changed. So, there are things that people don't know, that all you need to do is to have a frame of reference. And then your own frame of reference is enhanced. Systems thinking enhances one's ability to be innovative and ingenious. Systems give room for the expression of several gifts, talents, and abilities. They give room for the expression of talents, gifts, and abilities, which may not have been able to find expression on a solo basis. For instance, you know how cars are designed? You know how cars are designed? There is the designer whose own is to draw the design on paper. Now, you say, but I'm an artist, me too, I can draw a car. Hey. I studied how they designed the Mercedes-Benz recently. I noticed that the curves that they put at the front of the lights and the back, and even on the top at the angles where the windscreen are fitted, there's a way they curve them. I noticed that they are windbreakers. They are obeying a certain law of physics that makes it easy to glide with speed without resistance. So cars that are framed like box, square, when you are going through the wind, there's much resistance, so the speed is not enhanced. And because sometimes I'll be driving then my Lexus, and then I'm driving a V6. A fellow V6 colleague of mine, an E350 will be passing. But the way it passes, you just hear, as if you just blew feathers through the wind. And it's gone. So I had to go and sit down and say, come. How did they? And I said that from the framework, they make curves that allows windbreakers to be able to break the wind seamlessly without the person inside feeling any shaking. And then I noticed that apart from anything, the body is so thick. There are chemical engineers that there are some compounds they created. The chassis of the car, what the main chassis is the skeletal body, the metal frame. They soak it inside 5 different liquids 5 times, such that when it comes out, it's only Nigerian roads that makes those cars to find rust. Anti-rust, That's why the chassis of Mercedes-Benz can last for more than 20 years. Because even when you go through dirty water and all that, except you don't take time to clean those places and flush out where mud sticks for months, it's very difficult for it to rust. And then, of course, the electrical component. Now, let me not go into further details so that I don't confuse you. But the point is, the specialty in crafting. Now, if the person who designed, say, I want to work alone and just draw design, the beauty of the automobile will not be seen by the whole world. It is because the designer, the chemical engineers, the AI industrial machine and robots technicians, the testers, the electrical engineers, and the several engineers, they have to work together as strategic timelines and strategic phases to ensure cooperation and a seamless integration of their component ideas through an effective structural articulation. Through an effective structural articulation of the dimensions, capacities, and several operations of the various component parts to be able to create that product that the whole world admires, which you inclusive admire. People have to come together and crack their brain for years. Now, if they have to do that, there are several components involved. We'll talk about that in a subsequent session when we'll talk about the spirit of innovation. One of the greatest challenges we have in society is corporate loyalty. We cannot find 10 people who will be loyal to a particular idea for 10 years. They will break out. Now, this has its roots in colonial master slave trade doctrine. Everybody look for the book, What is Wrong with Being Black? And read it. You will understand what I'm saying. Look for the book also. This one is written by Dr. Matthew Ashimolowo. The other one is written by Dr. Miles Monroe, The Burden of Freedom. Read these two books and you'll be emancipated. So, people have gifts and talents, but there are environments that these gifts and talents are meant to find expression. The person who designed that framework on paper, until the maybe metallurgical engineer is able to bet that thing he drew on paper in the place of creating several molds. A mold is what they use to create a design, a shape of something, to give shape to something. Until he can create several molds and bet that thing, the glory of the artist who drew the design on paper will not be seen. Some people's glory is tied to other people's ideas or talents or gifts. Not everybody is meant to be independent. And you must understand that, because everybody wants to be their own boss. Not everybody is meant to be independent. There are people who God has built to be at the arrowhead. There are some that must be support systems at all levels, not at one level, but at any place they find themselves, there must be support systems. If you don't understand it this way, you will kill yourself. You will live in mediocrity because you want to be your own boss. 10 rules to being your own boss. Imagine that the commissioners say they are not going to work with the governor. The House of Assembly, everybody say, I want to be by myself. Even though they don't like themselves, they are not submitted under one God. For society to be sane, they have to work together. For some ideas to bet and find optimum glory over time, people have to work together for a certain period over time. If children have to grow well, father and mother have to superintend over them for a particular phase of their life over time until they are structured and framed into a certain mold before they can be led to be independent. In other words, when systems are out of order, society is out of order. It's only in the church that we will overemphasize the systems that are bettered in error, but we will not see the systems that are noble and emulate from them. Instead, we emphasize systems in error because we want to collapse systems. Everybody thinks they can be their own boss. It's a deception. You are not like God. For Jesus to be effective, he had to create a system of 12. The system of 12 had to learn to replicate themselves. And even after a while, they will always come back to Jerusalem and sit down together and discuss and check for challenges and all that to ensure the integrity of their model, which is Christ, magnified in creation. They had to always come back to come and do M&E, monitoring and evaluation. But we are so wise. Everybody must be their own boss. That's the wisdom of the foolish. It's wisdom, but it's wisdom rooted in foolishness. Systems thinking engender organs, organizations, and institutions. They engender organs, organizations, and institutions with sustainable socio-political, socio-economic, and even religious value. They engender organs, organizations, and institutions with sustainable socio-political, socio-economic, and even religious value. Can I tell you something? Most of the systems that rule this world that we are praying against, the reason why they cannot be destroyed is because they are systems. You can pull down a person in one day, but you can't pull down a system, a well-established system in 1 year. So the sustainability factor is wired into the fabric of systems. Whether as a church, whether as a corporate organization, whether as a nation. A nation can be so corrupt, yet the systems will help to sustain that corruption. That's why it's difficult to expunge corruption out of a country, except by some kind of righteous revolt. Because once it is a righteous revolt, the spirit behind systems, which is God himself, is the one who has the authority to collapse systems. Are you with me? Are you with me? Pay attention, because as leaders, systems thinking is a necessity. Now, over time, there has been different modes of systems in expression. And as we continue with this class in subsequent sessions, we'll talk about the different systems expressions or expressions of systems. So, systems thinking orchestrates the grounds for territorial advantage. Systems thinking orchestrates the grounds for territorial advantage. In other words, until you begin to think systemically, you will not be able to discern where you have strategic advantage. For instance, you want to set up an investment, and you want it to have some deep strategic advantage. You don't just look for people who share the same ideas with you. That must be paramount. But you also go into people who, some of them may be skilled in the area of marketing and you are not. Some of them may be skilled in the area of spotting human talent required to drive workflows and work processes, and you don't have that grace. So all of these component parts give strategic territorial advantage. What would have taken you 1 year to articulate alone, 10 people sitting down together for 1 month can create a solution, and yet you'll be struggling alone. Are you with me? You see, I pray that the church, we are able to be detoxified of the various religious indoctrinations that have been to our disadvantage. Several of them. I pray that we can be detoxified of them. You know, a certain man of God At a particular time, I saw him with a picture, snapping with the president. And it was even on news that he went to ask the president for a favor. I don't know if that's just social media. But that's not the first time he's going to Aso Rock. All that. But they used to preach to us that we should not mix up with politicians, that they are evil people. But you are mixing up with them. And sometimes they can pass some verdicts that will benefit your church. Do as I say, don't do as I do. When we started leadership sessions, my colleagues in the ministry said, I'm backslidden. Do deliverance. Leave this leadership team. Which one be leadership again? Cast out demons. Now you see, don't blame anybody. It's because of the way we have been schooled. So systems thinking orchestrate the grounds for territorial advantage. Systems in operation hold the key to societal influence. Systems in operation hold the key to societal influence. How do I mean? For instance, if you set up an educational system, a school, as people go through that school, you begin to shape their minds. You are determining what society is going to be tomorrow by what you are infusing into the young people today through your institutions where they are being trained. The church is determining what society is going to be tomorrow through the training it gives to people that come to sit on its pews every Sunday. Are you with me? So the church as a system where people gather every Sunday with the consciousness that they are going to meet God is endowed with the highest privilege of shaping human capital in a way that it is supposed to gain strategic advantage. But what have we limited it to? A place of singing, shouting, tithes, and offerings. And so, and because people have been indoctrinated this way, if you announce, we are going to do training on Sunday, people will sit down in their house. They don't want trainings. They want to come and praise and worship God and put tithe and offering so that God will bless them. They don't want to be trained. Laziness in the mind. People will sit in organizational training for 6 hours. But 2 hours, 30 minutes, they are looking at time. Church should dismiss. Let me go home. That's because the church did not incorporate organizational training in the fabric of its orientational processes. So that people should not be taught by the world how to sit for 6 hours. They should be taught by the church. So today, the church is now at the disadvantage. And then it has become more pronounced when they have indoctrinated the principle of 5 services, where people think that you can nurture people's spirits by keeping them in service for only 1 hour, 30 minutes on Sunday. And many of them will never come to church again until next Sunday. And that's if they are not on duty that Sunday. And you think you can fill their spirits up, you can nurture them. You have to explain to God, if you are about to nurture people's spirits, or you're just bringing crowds to come and do activity, you will explain. Say people don't like to sit long in church, but they like to sit long in their lecture halls in the universities. What is the thing the university is doing that you've not done that makes them to be able to sit down in the university campus? They can take lectures for 3 hours, and then 30, if they are writing an exam, they can sit in the exam hall for 4 hours. What is the thing that the examiners are doing that you're not doing? How come Paul could be teaching people and they could sit on windows, Paul the apostle in the book of Acts, and a young man sat down until he slept and fell down and died, and they resurrected him and the teaching continued. The teaching did not stop. What is the thing that was inherent in the then gospel that made people to sit down there and they will not move? They were loyal to the gospel. What is the thing that has been shot into the fabric of our human capital cultivation processes that has made people not see the need to sit down and listen to what is going to be beneficial to their life? And we say it's God. The world is now defining church, not church defining the world or giving definitions to the world. You see, if you look outside it, everything is fast. The gospel was supposed to inform society, not society informing the gospel. There are a lot of things we've accommodated. How come you can sit down in your office and work for 10 hours, but when you have spare time, you cannot sit down? and study the Bible for 3 hours. You see, these are things. Why? I'm saying this to tell you that there's a system. Systems have shaped a particular thing, have shaped the minds of people in a certain way that some other thing other than God is finding influence in society. The systems of this world have gained dominance over kingdom-inspired systems. Therefore, kingdom-inspired systems need to rise. You see, there's so little you can do by one-on-one evangelism, but there is so much you can do by raising kingdom-inspired systems. A group of young men who were men of integrity took their stand on certain policies in the book of Daniel, according to the Bible, and they made Nebuchadnezzar to pass a policy across several nations. And the policy was implemented maybe in a few weeks or few months. Imagine how many years it would have taken if you just wanted to do prayer and fasting and just moving one by one. Systems thinking. Systems thinking engender systems operations. This is so important because kingdom people, you see, I look around. Why does Bishop Oyedepo have so much influence? He built a university that churns out quality human capital. And today, when they make reference to Nigeria's institutions, Covenant University among private universities is the first, University of Ibadan second. So by reason of that, the man has given Nigeria a name Nigeria could not have given itself. So they respect him. EFCC can appear on some people's door and say something. People like that, the boss of EFCC will first go and visit him and say, please, oh, we heard this. See, we want to find out if it's true. So that I can take report and go and give the ones who send me. And then come back again and say, please, can you please send people to come and represent so that it won't be as if you ignored us. They will beg him. The same EFCC that will break somebody's house door. Systems thinking. You see, in the circle of ministers, we have accepted that for ministries to thrive now, we must begin to bring ourselves together. When we want to hold meetings, we must discern graces and come together for collectively for a greater manifestation of various dimensions of the expressions of the glory of God by reason of our individual graces, all right? But we've not been able to adopt that into kingdom people in the secular space. That's why this teaching is important. Because men of God can come together, shape meetings, and even keep relationships. But can men of God in the systems come together and begin to build ideas, begin to nurture visions and programs, and collectively and selflessly build systems that last? That's God's desire for the hour. All right, so the final point on why we need to study systems. Systems fabricate and nurture character, the scope, the templates, the dimensions, and the structure of subsequent generations. They fabricate and nurture the character, scope, templates, dimensions, and the structure of subsequent generations. Yes. If you want to transfer influence from one generation to another, create a system. And there is so little one individual system can create. You know something? You can create a system, another person creates a system. All of us have created systems. But there is a way all our systems can come together to form a larger system. What I call the Voltron principle. How many of you know Voltron? Oh my. in the 1991, 92, 93, 94 seasons, Voltron is the beginning of AI. What you call AI today. Voltron was the beginning of the broadcast of the concept of AI. You will see 4 cars running. There is a recent animation video that my children watch. I see that principle. You see guys driving cars, and then they turn to something, and then this one comes to connect to this one, and then a being rises up. It's Voltron. But where did they get that from? They got that from the book of Ezekiel, the Valley of Dry Bones, where a wind blew and then bones begin to come together, and then a great and mighty army. How did the great and mighty army rise? By systems and structures coming together. Are you with me? Systems and structures coming together. This is so important. They fabricate and nurture the character, scope, template, dimensions, and structure of subsequent generations. We are going to be watching a video, but I guess we'll not watch it today. However, let's take some points down. Points to notes. Number 1, systems are bettered from the place of ideas. Systems are bettered from the place of ideas. What did I say? Systems are bettered from the place of ideas. Somebody has an idea. Wow. Let me set up this. Or like the Tower of Babel, right? He said, come, let us together build something that will reach the height of God. It was an idea. And that idea has become a system that only God himself will come and destroy at the end of time. Systems evolve over time, but they are first an idea. Another point. When ideas in turn, when widely accepted, become ideologies. What's an ideology? An ideology is when an idea becomes accepted. Now, Christianity is an ideology. Islam is an ideology. Rather, the basic components of Islam were accepted as ideologies and Christianity before they became religious systems. Are you with me? Are you here? This is important. Ideologies give rise to philosophies. You know, Paul said in the book of Colossians, let no man spoil you through vain philosophies that work out the righteousness of the flesh. Philosophia, the study of wisdom. Right? That's the meaning of philosophy. But you see, what they don't tell you is that what wisdom are you studying? Where's your own wisdom from? Thank God the Bible says there is devilish wisdom. Are you with me? There is devilish wisdom. I always ask the question, I've been saying this severally. Why is it that philosophy is a compulsory course in Nigerian universities? Why? You are doing science. They say year 1, philosophy compulsory. Why? Philosophies are so powerful. They shape, they create a breeding ground in the minds of people for belief systems. So if the colonial masters want you to believe that the West is superior to you, they teach you their philosophy. So that subconsciously, your mind is programmed to agree that the Westerners are a superior race to the blacks. That's why they don't teach you African philosophy in school. They teach you the philosophy of the Romans, the Greco-Romans. They tell you about French philosophers, American philosophers, English philosophers. How many times did they teach you African philosophers, except you are reading philosophy as a course in university? But when you are they extract some out. They want you to see the greatness of the Western world, because those philosophers, what they do is that they capture the ideals and the widely accepted ideas, otherwise aka ideologies, of their social civilization. They capture it in utterances that are meant to frame jurisdictions of human thought. What did I say? They capture it in vocabularies that are meant to frame jurisdictions of human thought. In other words, they capture it in a way that they want you to think in a certain direction. I have an elder brother who, every time you tell him things, he will say, no, this philosopher. I look at him and say, sorry. You know, he read sociology. Guess what? In your university, when you apply for a course and they cannot give you, the easiest course they give is sociology. Go and enter where philosophers will spoil your mind. There is an abstract system that is making them mass produce sociologists or social workers. There is something in creation that is speaking that makes them to think in the direction of some people here. This is a place of mass production. They may not even know it, the leaders. I know I'm looking for trouble, but it's fine. So philosophies inform beliefs. When your mind is sent in a particular direction, you believe it. Are you with me? They inform beliefs. Okay, remember I said that philosophy gives you a frame for the direction of your thoughts. Once your thoughts begin to go into that place, you begin to believe it. Oh, Christ is the Son of the living God. If you accept Jesus Christ, you'll be saved. You believe it, and then it becomes part of you. That's why the moment you believe that Jesus Christ comes to, if you shall confess with your mouth and you believe in your heart, you are saved. That's for Jesus Christ. Think about the negative side. So just accepting that Satan can give you money by joining one power cult and believing it in your soul. Something has come into you without you knowing. You may still be walking normal, but from that moment you're abnormal. That's how seeds of sorrow are being sown. Somebody says, because your parents had a negative experience, and then you say women are very useless people. I have people, I've met all manner of people in my life. Women are very useless people. How did you come into this world? How are you going to have children? So you have children with the useless people so that you can have useless children. Isn't it so? You see, they have believed it. It used to be a wide idea when you go to beer parlors those days. It's like, no follow women. Women, you won't die. Women. Now, they don't say, but you, Oga, have you taken time to nurture your wife and nurture your home very well? Because even the men don't know. Many don't know that they were supposed to nurture their families. They just believe that, okay, I don't marry. Woman, take care of the house, take care of children. Know what to do. How? No matter what, the Bible never allows a woman, by the authority of God, never allows a woman to know so much that the husband will not have what to nurture. Because it is in the place of whatever the husband has to nurture that an aspect of his authority in creation establishes the fact that he is the head of the home. There has to be a place. God never allows the woman to be complete without a vacuum where the man will have to nurture. And so you begin to see, so how women are useless among women. Don't trust a woman, no women. As you leave the house like bam, she doesn't see you for 6 months. So are you looking for someone else? Most of them are talking from experiences. Most of them are talking from ideologies that they have accepted because they've been hanging around the wrong environments. Are you with me? Some of them are victims of their culture. They grew in places where their parents were polygamous. And some, polyandrous. So mother has children this side, father has children that side. It's very prevalent in Cross River State. Even with their mother had 3 children. Father had children, they come and join together and then continue. So it's X, like this, and then. All right? Yes, there are. Now, that's a system of destruction. If God does not help you come out from that kind of family, you are in trouble. A system of destruction. Are you with me? So, we need to understand this. Philosophies inform beliefs. Be very careful about what you read in school. Be very careful. Now, those of you who read courses like arts, the arts, be very careful. Be very careful. Then for those of you who are in sciences and engineering, the journals, most of the things that are there are false. But they are crafted in a way to make you believe them because the globalists have an end-time agenda. You must be smart. This guy, what's his name? Myron Golden calls the school system mental slavery inoculation camp. I'm not saying don't go to school. I have to say it this way because he said, I don't want to go to school because I said no, I didn't say so. I'm saying you can actually do without the school. But gain knowledge, relevant skills, and be committed to strategic self-development for strategic advantage. All right? Beliefs, in turn, inform our values. What you believe you value. I value the word of God so much because I believe in God. I value my family so much because I believe in family orientation. And I value family orientation so much because I understand the principle of foundations. While the male is the foundation of life, of the God life in the earth, the family unit is the foundation for the expression of the God life in society. So my values stem from this revelation. Why do I value business? It's not because I want to make money. I can make money without business. There is spiritual business. There are secrets. But it's because it helps me to task my mind to become more productive. It helps me to stretch my capacities, to discover hidden and latent potential. Are you with me? Come on now. You are looking like... did I offend you? Okay. Just in case I did, I'm sorry. But you see, you must understand this. I tell you, the reason why you work is not to make money. You work to become a better person. If you're working to make money, you have shut your mind to some realities that are supposed to shape your aspirations. You shut your mind. No matter how much money you make, money is never enough. So why are you working for money? Work for something higher than money. Money becomes a temporary compensation that is required on your journey towards sustainable greatness. Money is a temporary compensation, right, on your continuous journey towards greatness and fulfillment. That's just what it is. All right? Are you here? Okay. So, we are going to look into the Bible, a very captivating subject called Leviathan. Are you with me? Leviathan is something in the Bible. Now, a certain philosopher wrote a book and called it Leviathan. The question is, what informed his beliefs? And what is the philosophy that guided his life? Are you with me? The thing I want to draw out from here, I want to infer, is that every system has its roots in the spiritual world. Whether you know it or not. Every system has its roots in the spiritual world. So this man was a philosopher, and something you know about philosophers those days is that they sit with kings. They are the ones they call to be advisors. He wrote a book called Leviathan, and according to the Bible which we'll look at, Leviathan is a spirit. Meaning that he was inspired by that spirit. And then we are going to see the characteristics of Leviathan, and then we'll see the manifestations of that spirit and how it finds practical expressions in creation, and then the systems that are ruling the world today. Are you with me? Do you agree? All right, so let's look at our friend. Thomas Hobbes. Leviathan, written by English philosopher Thomas Hobbes in 1651, is a foundational work in the field of political philosophy. Remember, I said philosophy informs beliefs. Why is it that... Now, keep this there, because this is wisdom for spare. Some of you are calling to politics. You don't know yet, but you will know now. The book presents a comprehensive framework for understanding the nature of the state, the social contract, and the ideal form of government. Do you know what this is? This is the framework for policy development that governs nations. So a man wrote a book called Leviathan. Now, and he gave a comprehensive framework. Something was teaching him. How does a man who is not a ruler of a state have the comprehensive framework of what should be governing governments and statehood? Because many of your politicians have imbibed these things, but they don't understand where it's coming from. Now look at this. Social contracts. Hobbes argues that individuals in a state of nature are in a constant state of war. Hello. And the only way to achieve peace and security is through the establishment of a commonwealth, through a social contract. This, I believe, in my opinion, informed some of the doctrines of the United Nations. Now, Christ is called the Prince of Peace. He said, no, you cannot get peace through the Prince of Peace. You get peace through social contract. Now, what is social contract? Putting down some things on document and saying, by this, let people come together, even though their hearts are not united. Are you with me? Even though their hearts are not united. That's why there is so much hypocrisy in the political spectrum. You sing the praises of your boss because you want to keep your position, not because you like him. Social contracts. Are you with me? That, you see, the belief systems people have imbibed, and they have said, in politics, this is how it's done. No, you have to sing Oga's praise. Oga enters power. Instead of praying and asking God to give you ideas, Oga is just 6 months in power. You're already putting his billboards everywhere of all the things that he has done that has not started. Social contract. Sing Oga's praise to sustain your throne. It's not for some individuals, like this our current governor that I know. He's a simple person. It doesn't look like if you don't sing his praise, he will chase you away. It doesn't look like that kind of person to me and all I've heard about him. But those people, they have, if you read political science, they are politicians in their orientation. Their beliefs are governed by Thomas Hobbes' philosophy. The only way to attain peace, let there be no rank to everybody. Pretend and act. So it makes you to be a shadow of yourself for the sake of sustaining your throne. That's how the systems of this world are run. Unfortunately, it's like that now in some churches. Sovereign power. Hobbes advocates for a strong, centralized government with, look at this phrase, absolute authority to ensure the common defense and protect the security of the Commonwealth. Now, if you read this from the physical, it sounds very nice. And it looks very right. But you see, something happened when the EndSARS protest happened. Even the government could not protect citizens. Are you with me? Hello, are you here? When the EndSARS protest happened October 2020, you know, we over-exaggerate the powers of political leaders. How many of us saw this protest in Kenya recently? The police was arresting a girl. The girl was shouting. They were filming. And they were filming the policeman's face. And they were trying to force the girl into the vehicle. The girl said, I will not enter. And she was challenging them until she said, you know something? Because this phrase, absolute authority, belongs to God alone. So whereas the police was trying to stop rancor, when the absolute authority himself shows up, the police will see how powerless they are. All that morale dies. That's what happened during EndSARS. So when you say centralized government with absolute authority, you are carrying what belongs to God and giving to man. It is working, but it is defective. Because he wrote a book called Leviathan. So where is the source of his inspiration? Where is the source of his inspiration? Leviathan. So me Leviathan. Is Leviathan God? That's why he cannot sustain creation. That's why at the end, the systems of this world will collapse. The artificial person. Look at this. Hobbes describes the Commonwealth as an artificial person, not a real person. And a body politic that mimics the human body with the sovereign rulership as its head. Say with me, systems. As the human body, say with me, systems. The United Nations. They believe that they can govern all the nations of the world. Thomas Hobbes. The IMF. All those instruments. This is where they derive their philosophies from. I'm saying this to you because some of us don't like reading history. We don't research. So we don't know how the world is working and why the world has gotten to where it is today. So because of that, whatever we want to build, we are defective. Because until you know stuff like this, you cannot posture right. You become a victim of the system, unfortunately, you're trying to run away from. Or trying to thrive out of. Leviathan. The frontispiece to this first edition of Leviathan portrays the Commonwealth as a gigantic human form built out of the bodies of systems. Say with me, systems. Are you with me? I'm trying to, so that this man was speaking from a very high place of wisdom. However, not the wisdom of God, but a high way of wisdom. And he said, with the sovereign as his head, symbolizing the power and unity of the state. Meanwhile, it's an artificial person, meaning that the power and sovereignty of the state is artificial. Do you get what I said? The power of the state is artificial. I'll give you this as an assignment because of time. Go to Wikipedia, Google, study on Thomas Hobbes. So let's look into what the Bible has to say about Leviathan. Job 41 verse 1. Can you draw out Leviathan with a hook? Or his tongue with a cord which you let down like a fish? Can you put a hook to his nose or bow his jaw through a thorn? Will he make many supplications to you? Will he speak soft words unto you? Meaning he doesn't speak soft words, meaning he's hard. Will he make a covenant with you? He has made a covenant with some people. Will thou make him a servant forever? Will you play with him as with a bird? Several things he said here. Can you feel his skin with barbed irons? Meaning He's hardened so that even if you use iron, you can't touch him. The systems of this world, the rulers, they are hardened in their opinion. You can't shake them. When you read the whole of this Job 1, right, you begin to understand by wisdom the philosophies that govern the hardness of heart of the world systems. That they'll be building ammunitions of mass destruction and yet say they are fighting for peace. Why? Because it's an artificial government. That's why we have a superior government. We must know what we have in the kingdom. Verse 10. None is so fierce that dare to stir him up. Who then is able to stand before me? God was saying, if nothing can stand before Leviathan among you, sons of men, who will not stand before me? In other words, God was saying Leviathan is such a dreaded being that has so much authority and rulership that none can stand before him. How much more me? It's God that created Leviathan, so he knows. Who can discover the face of his garments? If you read other versions, you'll get a better explanation. Who can open the doors of his face? His teeth are terrible about the doors of his face, his mouth. One is so near to another that no air can come between them. By his sneeze, light does shine, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. Out of his mouth go burning lamps and sparks of fire. What does that tell you it is? How many of you have heard the word sea dragon? How many of you have heard the word dragon before? Okay. So now he's giving a vivid description. So remember, Thomas Hobbes wrote a book on Leviathan and began to capture individual rulers and citizens and political government. Then here, God describes it as a dragon, meaning that the dragon is what has rulership over the political systems of this world. Are you with me? Come on now, are you with me? I had to, because if we just preach this thing, it looks as if it's very spooky. So you are seeing it now. It's one of their own who exposed them. You need to understand this. Now, you need to understand, now, remove the people from the systems. The rulers of today are only victims of systems that they inherited. You have to understand that. So don't go and hate your leader tomorrow. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, remember, we're talking systems thinking. All right? Are you with me? Okay. His breath kindled coals, and a flame goes out of his mouth. In his neck remains strength, and sorrow is turned into joy before him. The flakes of his flesh, scales, are joined together. They are firm in themselves, they cannot be moved. His heart is as firm as a stone. That's why world leaders, they will pass some policies and tell lies against them and kill them, and nothing moves them. Like I was saying the other day, they are analyzing geopolitics. And they talk about how, because of resources in some countries, slave trade, for instance, in Africa, masses of people were killed in Democratic Republic of Congo by King Leopold II for resources, and it did not move them. That kind of hardness of heart that makes a man spill so much blood. Some, they were amputating them, cutting their hands, and they were handless. Many of them lived, and there are pictures of them, and it could not move them. Leviathan's heart is hardened. The influence of this being is what sits over political leaders. That's what they are telling you. That's why Paul in the New Testament says, pray for your leaders. Because the influence of the systems that governs them. If you don't pray and you complain, you will reap the reward of complaint. When he raises up himself, even the mighty are afraid. By reason of breakings, they purify themselves. The sword of him that slayeth at him cannot hold. The spear that they habergeon, nothing you shoot at it. I mean, God is saying, I'm the only one that can knock this thing out. Now, let's go to verse 33. Upon earth there is not his like, who is made without fear. He beholdeth all high things. He is a king over all the children of pride. So if pride is working in you, you know the influence that is working against you. This is why we emphasize humility a lot, because when pride begins to come in, You think it's about you, but influences ride on people. It's very difficult to see a political leader that is humble. There are very few. And if you check them in secret, they have counselors who continually guide them and teach them to keep them in order. Spiritual or social, as the case may be. He is the king over all the children of pride. So it is no wonder that political leaders are always very proud. And economic leader. Look at Emefiele when he was caught. The man has stolen money and spread around several countries of the world. And it was pride that made him think he would get away with it. It's pride that makes people to be given to impunity and their conscience does not prick them. It is pride. But it's not them. When they begin to touch those monies, something sits over their soul. As they make some decisions and harden their heart becomes more hard. As it becomes more hard, that influence is entrenched more and more into the fabric of their consciousness. And their beliefs is that nothing can touch me. I've built palaces for myself. I have houses of billions everywhere. And then when they take them to the cell, you see them when they are going for court case, they are carrying big Bible. I was shocked because when he was the governor of Central Bank, I never saw him with a Bible. When it's time to speak on a podium with high suit and tie, when he was coming out of the courtroom of the prison where they detained him to court, his Bible was almost as big as this chair. I have not seen any man of God in recent time hold that size of Bible. I'm telling you, no, they are there, but I've not seen in recent time. So he could still know where to get that size. Now, there's something about the size of the Bible. It shows that genuine repentance has come to play. But he didn't have to wait for it to come to that place of carrying big Bible. He would have rather had the Bible in his heart while he was there. And you need to see what Nigerians were saying on social media. I'm a man of God. I felt for him. He's somebody's father. I wonder how his children will feel looking at their father. A man that was well respected in the country being treated like a slave. It's not actually because of the money. It's actually because he was on the wrong side of the political structure. So he was paid back. However, it does not justify the fact that he stole. Are you with me? So, now you've seen that. We need to understand that the only way we can break through these political people with this kind of ideology is by raising kingdom-inspired systems. That's why it looks like in Nigeria, it is the systems that the men of God build that thrives. Why is it that there are universities, but even among private universities, it's the one that men of God build that have distinction? Because of the God factor inside. Because the systems of this world, the king of pride is sitting over them. Are you with me? We must understand things. So when you begin to have ideas and you begin to have money, stay humble. Don't begin to carry shoulder up no matter what you know, because this guy is looking for people. He becomes the king. Once pride comes in, he say, in the realm of the spirit, you are entering his domain. A new son has come, a new daughter has come. This is why I weep, because many people still think that we can make a headway in this life walking alone. That guy that is sitting, he's sitting over the whole political spectrum. There are individual governors and presidents of nations and CEOs of multinationals who by themselves understand this and they're trying to break out of it. But for them to break out of it, they have to function as systems. For Daniel to be able to defeat the destruction that was to come through a political power in his time, they had to function as a council. He had to call Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Let them go and sit as a structure, as a system. That's how they could penetrate. Systems thinking. You see, the principle of systems ensures for mutual accountability. And God does not joke with accountability. One of the ways you cure pride from somebody is by mutual accountability. There are many of us who don't believe in being accountable. I'm not just talking of being accountable to a spiritual authority, which is foundational, or being accountable to a boss in the office or something, but also accountability in the place of friendships. There should be one or two friends that can look at you when you are wrong and tell you this thing you are doing is wrong. If you don't have that, just know that you are gearing for a crash. There has to be somebody who can tell you are wrong. And you say, oh, and you go and sit down without thinking I'm better than you. You cannot correct me. If you don't have such a person, you are going to crash. Yes, there has to be somebody who tell, see, this matter, this is not the way it should be done. And then you say, okay. That will make you, before you react, you first go and sit down and begin to check. Could it be true? Let me not assume that I'm correct because I don't know everything. That accountability relationship is a system for self-sustenance. Life is full of systems. If a seed fall out of a tree unripe, it will die. It will be useless. Nobody will eat of it. It will not maximize its value. Nobody goes to a tree to go and pluck unripe fruit to eat. It's accidental discharge. As you bite it, they use the word slap. It's sour. You throw it very far. You hate it. Many of us don't understand that our rising is tied to structural relationships. I've noticed something about my life. At every new phase of my life, God brings new structures. When I was serving back in the days where I was serving before, God called me out to pioneer this work, I had friends, Mr. Julius Afolabi, Stephen Wachi. There's one other one, Akombi. He was not regular. He was a more mature guy, but once in a while he comes around. But three of us, and then our pastor, then Pastor Use, our youth pastor. We have series of times of fellowship together, prayers, and heavy discussions about how we're going to change society. We've not gotten there yet, but we are still moving. And after a while, that phase passed. And I began to have a new structure of relationships. And even in that structure, after a while, that phase has passed, and I've entered new structures of relationships in strategic phases of my life. Are you with me? Listen to me. God is the orchestrator of systems in the earth. But this guy, Leviathan, has also a book about systems. So if you read political science, and most of these guys, they derive their ideologies from either Thomas Hobbes' philosophies or the philosophy of Karl Marx. These men were destructive elements of society. Unfortunately, that's what I teach you in school. But you will sit down there and listen to everything because you want to pass an exam whose philosophies are meant to be a devastation to you and what you represent in God. Thank God for wisdom for spheres. You must pay attention to sound doctrine. When the Bible says the whole world lies in it, the systems of this world, they corrupt, they destroy. They take you out of order. But if you choose to get it right, you would begin to attract people of like minds who will help you, because there are cosmic forces in creation that are the orchestrators of structures based on the integrity of your heart, the humility of your mind, and the sincerity of your purpose, thereby helping you to navigate by the wind of the Spirit into strategic structures that will engender systems of light that are meant to nurture and sustain the legacy of subsequent generations. Do you understand what I said? Thank you very much. Let's rise.